Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. So my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today is the football lovers crochet throw. This is using Red Heart Heat Wave that heats up in the light. So when it's light outside, this blanket will heat up and it heats up about 12 degrees warmer. So this is for football games, but you can use regular yarn if you wish, if you don't have access to this particular yarn, and it's kind of fun. Now this is a Graphghan kind of concept, but don't let that big word just like scare you away right away. I'm going to be showing you how to do that. So when we go to start this, you're going to notice that we're going to start off in the striping. So we're just going to go back and forth in order to make this striping effect. When we get to the lacing, what we're going to do for there, and there's a great picture here on number 2, is that we're going to have 2 balls of this color going at the same time and then 1 ball of this going at the same time. So on this side of the laces there's 1 ball operating, and on this side of the laces there's another ball, and then this yarn in here is going to be carrying through. This allows us to have a nice clean color for this, and it also allows you not to have to keep changing out your yarns in order for it to have knots. So what you're just gonna do is you're just gonna go back and forth. So this color, when I look at it, it'll just be going back and forth like this one, and this one is going to be going back, and once you get to the end of your laces then you can just go straight across with just one of the balls. So without further ado, let's just go through this, and I'm going to show you how to do that concept today. So we're gonna start off with just getting yourself started, and then we're going to then show you the laces. So you're going to use a 5.5 millimeter size eye crochet hook in order to play today. So let's start off with the slip knot, and this is an easy level project, and you are only going to chain 159. So this is the full size of this blanket. The blanket is 52 inches by 60 inches long. So you're just gonna chain, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go all the way to 159 with, for me, and then meet me back here. I'm just gonna do a smaller swatch so I can show you how to do those laces. So just go to 159 and meet me back here in just a moment. Once you get to your 159, we're gonna start row number 1, which will be the right side of the project. So it's the good side of the project. So you're going to just chain, go to the 4th chain, so count it back. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go to the 4th and go in the back hump only. There is no border on this thing, and all you're just going to do is that you're just gonna double crochet. So once you get the first one, I want you to do the second and go all the way down your chain with just 1 double crochet in each, and I'll meet you at the end of your chain. So I'm coming all the way to the other side, and I just want to go into my very last chain, but I don't want you to turn it yet. I want you to do something special for me, and this is really gonna save you too. So just let it lie. This is considered the right side of the project, so just grab another spare piece of yarn, and I want you just to, you can use that hook, or I always have lots of hooks here, is that I am going to slide my hook underneath just a strand here on this side, and I'm just gonna pull a loop through with this yarn. Okay, once I pull the loop, then I'm going to just put the other side through here. This is going to represent the right side of the project, so when it gives you instructions to do certain things, it says to end on the wrong side or do things on the right side. You can tell by this is the right side, so when you turn it over you won't see that at all. So you know which side is the right side, and that'll help you later. So we're going to just continue to use this color. So let's go to row 2, and row 2 we're going to just start up and chain up 3. That counts as your first double crochet, and starting in your very next one you want to just placing a double crochet all the way back. So all you're going to do on this is use this color and measure off 7 inches ending on the wrong side. So your 7 inches will be ending when you go in this direction, because you can see that this here is the right side. So when you end your 7, the right side marker should be on the back of the project. So I want you to go back and forth until you can measure 7 inches, approximately 7 inches of height from the base all the way up, and then you know this color is done. So for tutorial reasons I'm not gonna do 7. I'm going to meet you back here at the end of this row, and then I'm gonna show you the next color, and then we'll talk about that color, and then we'll get into the laces after that. So I'm coming all the way to the end. If you're a new crocheter, what happens is that people like making triangles, not intentionally but they accidentally do. This turning chain is a stitch, so it's in the chain itself. Don't go right into the space, but when you go to double crochet, just get that last turn turning chain and finish. So let's just say we did this and it was 7 inches and the stitch marker is on the other side, so this means that I'm finishing on the wrong side. So if I was finishing here, this is the right side up, so I'm not finishing on the wrong side then, because the right side's facing up. So I'm gonna show it to you once and how to change these yarns out, and I would recommend just leaving a little bit of a longer tail, and you are just gonna pull through. This is kind of how I do it for security. Now you don't have to do changing of these too often, and then I'm going to also show you a technique later too. So you're just going to just put it onto the tapestry needle and just drag it up underneath the stitch work. Okay, so don't interfere with that outside edge. So just pulling through. When you pull through, don't change the shape of the project. So you pull it taut, but don't change the side. And that was once, and go through a slightly different path for a second time, and then finally one more time, third time is a charm, a slightly new path again, and it's the third time across. And therefore you can safely then cut this right down to the project and you'll never see it. So now we want to turn our project and begin the next section. So say this is 7. So I'm going to be using gray because the back is white. So I'm gonna be using the gray color for the heat wave to show you how to do the next color. So the next color, when we go to start it, I'm recommending that we start it with a slip knot and then insert into the hook. Now coming into the very last one, we're gonna come into the last stitch where we just left off. We want to join it. So this is a slip stitch attaching to join, and then chain 3 to build up. You're going to then work yourself across the stitches, but see this straggler? Just go right up over top of it. So go into the next stitch and just let that straggler catch underneath like that, and then keep on going. So just bury that for about 2 inches underneath the work, and therefore you won't really have to sew that in. You can use your tapestry needle if you wish to go back and forth 3 times if you feel that's something that's right for you. So once you have it done enough, just throw it to the back side so it's out of your face and continue along. So I want to show you a technique now. Let me just show you a technique and what happens when you run out of yarn midway through a row. So when I was a new crocheter, I would oh my god, I would pull everything out and I would have a whole whack of wasted yarn. Whack meaning a lot. So let's just say that the yarn is running out. I'm gonna intentionally snip it. So I'm coming up and the ball's running out. I'm getting a little frantic. So how you will do that is that you'll wrap the hook in going in and pull through. Leave yourself a long enough tail so you can throw it through a tapestry needle if you wish, and grab the new ball and create a slip knot. So you notice I never finished the stitch. So put the slip knot on and then finish that stitch with the new yarn and pull through. Now the 2 stragglers, the shorter ends, is what I want to concentrate on hiding. So if I yarn over and go right into the next stitch, put both of those on top of the line and capture both of those underneath the stitch work. Again, you can use a tapestry needle, bury it for about 2 inches, and then just throw it to the back side, and you can do that tapestry needle back and forth, just putting it through, and once it's in long enough you can just toss it to the back, get it out of your face there for a bit, and just keep on blazing across. So you don't have to waste any yarn when you're going to do this concept. If you get a knot in your ball, you can do the same thing for that. So just going back across, and then I'll meet you at the end of this row in just a moment. So I'm coming up all the way across to the other side. If you're new to us, we've been doing this for, we meaning I, been doing this for about 12 or so years, about 12 years I think, and sometimes they go a little quick, so I just gotta make sure I'm kind of slowing down when I can. So I have 2 stitches left. I have the turning chain and that stitch, so don't forget that turning chain. That's where new crocheters go wrong, and go right into the chain at work itself. Never go into this big space because then it will be right open. So I can tell by this stitch marker that I'm looking at the right side, so I'm going to start the next row. So you want to have this row, this colors, I've done for 6 inches. So the other one was gonna be 7. This one's only gonna be 6 inches tall, and you need to end on the wrong side as well. Okay, so make sure that you do that. And so when I get to the other side, I'm gonna switch back to this burgundy color, and then we're gonna just do a couple of rows for there just to stabilize it, and then we're gonna get into the fun stuff of making the laces. So just go all the way to the other side, and you just go back and forth until this section is 6 inches tall. So I'll see you at the other side. So I'm just coming up all the way to the other side, and let's just say that we've gotten 6 inches and we finished on the wrong side. So the stitch marker here, do you see it's on this side? So we know we're finishing on the wrong side. So I'm gonna get rid of this color, and once again, and I'm gonna go for the burgundy, do a couple rows of the burgundy, and that burgundy, when we go to do that, should be another 7 inches tall like it is here. Once you know what 7 inches is, you can just literally count the rows that were here of how many it was, and then just match the number of rows in order to make the 7 of the burgundy for the next section. So let's continue to do that, and so you can see that I'm weaving in my ends right now. So that's another technique you can use to hide in your ends, and when you go over with the new color, you can bury that as well. And again, you can leave out the you can leave this out long too to have a tapestry needle finish it off. So starting with the next color, creating a slip knot again and attaching it to the first stitch. So just pull through and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, pull things nice and tight and just move your way down. So I'm gonna do 2 rows of this, and then we're gonna start our lacing fun after that. And what I want you to do is that you need to get 7 inches of this done, of this color, before you start in the laces. So I'm just being kind of brief today. So I will meet you at the end of these 2 rows being complete, and then we'll start our laces fun at that moment. So just coming to this, and I just got 2 sides, so you should have 7 inches done at this moment. And let me just take you to the photograph, and we're gonna start our laces next. So we're on the wrong side, we don't see any stitch marker there, so we're gonna turn it around, get it so that the right side is up, and let's go back to the picture now. So when we've been following this, so you should have 7 inches of this, and then 6 inches of that, and now another 7 inches of this solid before starting the laces. So I'm gonna let you come back and see me, but what I have on the table here is just a smaller swatch, but I'm gonna do the entire width of the laces here for real. The difference is that I'm gonna start a little bit closer to the edge here because my sample is that much smaller. So we're gonna begin that. So in order to do that, you have to grab another ball of yarn. So you're gonna have your one going right here, you're gonna have your second one, which will be right here, and then you're gonna have your other color here, for which will be the laces color. So we're gonna have a total of 3 balls in play, and this is called Graphghan Concept. So let's begin to do that next. So our goal for the Graphghan Concept is that we're gonna start with this color here, and we have to double crochet, chain 3, and double crochet in each of the next 58. So 58 will be done with this color. Then on the 58th one, at the end of that stitch, we're gonna switch off to this new color and leave this yarn in play, but right where we've left it, and we'll catch it there another time. We're then going to take this yarn here and go for the set of stitches. It said that there's 39 in a row, and then when you get to the end of the 39, we're then going to grab your next ball of yarn here and start it here. So you will have literally this yarn right here just sitting, you'll have this one, and when it will finish, it'll be left over here, and you'll get it next time, and then we'll start this one. So let's begin to do this concept. It's actually not hard. This is a really easy Graphghan project. For brevity then, I need you to chain up 3, and then you need to do another 58 double crochets. So I'm only gonna do 6. So I'm just gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And when I do the 6, I don't want to finish it. I just want to leave it as is. Please do your 58 and meet me back here. Just put me on pause. I'll be waiting here for you right now. For those that are ready to continue, I want you to grab your laces color. In my case it'll be gray, and grab this back up, and I want you to pull through the next 2, and now you have 2 loops on the hook, leaving an extra long tail so that you can deal with it later. I want you not to create a slip knot. You'll see it. So just create a loop, okay, just like that. there's nothing else holding it, and keep a long tail, and we'll deal with that later, and put that loop onto the hook and finish that stitch. I want you to leave this yarn in behind. Just put it right straight in front of you, and now we're going to be playing with just this gray yarn, and you can put that straggler of the gray yarn in behind, or what you can do to save yourself time is that you can just lay it down on top of the line so it gets buried up underneath. So to do the next section, we're now going to do 39 double crochets using this new color. The reason why we changed the color in the last stitch, because that first loop is the house. It's the roof of the house. So that last loop is the top of this one. So we're gonna count those out. So we have 1 and 2. See how I'm going right up over top of that straggler? It's trapping it underneath. 3, 4, and 5. Go all the way to 39 of this with this color. Just leave this one in behind. It won't fall out on you. It's just sitting there waiting for you next time, and just continue across. So get 39 done. So I'm now on my 39th, but I don't want to finish it, and grab the loop of this new one and just pull through. And let the gray fall to the back side out of the way. And what I want to do at this point is take the new color and just leave the straggler down on the line and finish all the way across. In your case it'll be much wider, of course. So now I'm going to just go all the way to the edge, including that turning chain, and then we're good to go. So you can see you have a nice clean stop there, and you have a clean stop on this side, and now you can turn your work, and now all the stragglers will be on the front, all the yarn working tails will be on the right side. So you can see that this gray will be ready for you, and then when you get to this one over here, this will be ready for you too. So let's begin to do the next row. So to begin to do the next row, they're in sets of 2 the way things are done here. So you're gonna just chain up 3, and it's the repeat. So rows 1 and 2 are the same instruction. So you'll go 58 double crochets across. In my case it'll be shorter. So you're just going to double crochet using this color, but when you get to the 58th, which I'm about to get to right now, what I want you to do is that we want to pick up this yarn here. So almost finish that stitch, get the 2 loops, and let this drop to the back side of the work. It always should be dropped to the back side, and grab the new loop or the new strand and pull it up and finish it like that, and therefore that strand can get trapped there. So leaving this one in behind, you're just gonna take the new one, and see how you got this line? You'll see that if you go here. So just scoop up underneath it and pick it up, and just make sure that it's on top of the hook, and that will be more easier hidden. And now you're gonna double crochet in each of the stitches going all the way across this section. So whenever the gray runs out, that means that you're done, or you can count the number of stitches, which was 39. So you're just gonna work your way all the way across until you see the next burgundy color, and meet me back there in just a moment. So when you get all the way across, you're just going into the top of the house, the top of the roofs of these stitches. So this one is your last one, and you're just gonna pull through, but don't finish it. Let this color fall to the back and pick up the new color that's sitting here on the front, and just finish it. And like I showed you before, when you go to do your first stitch, if you double crochet and just go straight down and leave this out, you'll always see it, but just scoop it up and making sure that it's on top of the hook when you go to do your first double crochet. So you're gonna double crochet all the way to the other side, but you'll notice the laces. We're now going to do the center part of the laces on the next 2 rows. And so I gotta show you a technique of dragging your yarn underneath the stitches so that you can get there. And you're gonna go to the end, all the way to the end, and just put me on pause now, and we'll meet you back here in just a moment. So turn your work and get ready, and let's begin to do that next. So as we do the next part, I just put a stitch marker because my sample is smaller. So now we have to do this middle part right here, where we have to get that white to get in, but we don't want to cut our yarn because we don't have to. So let's begin. We're going to chain 3, and the laces start at the 72nd stitch. The problem is that we're gonna pass this section here in order to do the middle of the laces. So when we pass that, we need to pick this up and take it with us so that it'll be ready for us next time. So in order to do that, you're just gonna double crochet and just go all the way across, but count it out, and you'll have to do 71 stitches before you start doing the middle section of the lace. But when you cross over the main section of the lace right where it's sitting, we wanna grab that yarn and take it with us, or it'll be just sitting there limbo not doing anything. Okay, so I'm not counting, you don't hear me, but you should be counting 71 stitches. When you get to this section here, what you wanna do is just grab into the next stitch and put that up on top and just trap it with you and take it with you until you get to your 71st stitch. Okay, just pull it snug and just take it. And once your 71st stitch is done, the last part of that stitch has to be this gray. So do you see I didn't have to change this color at all. I didn't have to like break my yarn. I'm just taking it with me. And you barely see that it's there. So my stitch marker indicates where my laces of the center is gonna start for me. So that's why I put that there. Okay, so the next stitch is where I want this to start. So on the last 71st stitch, leave the second there and leave that straggler, or leave that yarn line or line to the back. And grabbing that gray that you've been dragging with you, finish the stitch. And the center of the lace, it's only 13 stitches. Okay, so it's 13 double crochets. So I'm gonna count those out with you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So I'm not gonna finish that, but what's my problem now? My problem is that this strand that I need to finish is way over here. So all I'm gonna do is just drag it up over, and I'm going to finish that stitch with that yarn. So you want to be a little bit taut, but you don't want to be too loose about it either. Let the gray just fall away, and now you're just gonna double crochet the remaining. But when you double crochet, go right up over top of that yarn line that you just dragged over with you, and that'll get that stuck up underneath. So that it's ready for you to have a nice clean look. So when these lines are moving like that, the trick is to move those lines with you. See? And then you're just gonna continue all the way to the end. And get into that turning chain by the time you get there. So you can see that you have your center of your laces going on, and when you turn your work, the yarn strands are now moved and ready for you. So when you just pull things away, I can get rid of that stitch marker that I had been playing with, and it's not a hard concept. So we're gonna do one more row of this, but this time when you go across, the actual yarn itself is gonna be ready for you right when you want it. So when you go to chain up 3, you don't really need to count. You can actually look where the stitches are gonna be, but it is a repeat, so there's gonna be 71 stitches after the chain 3 is done. But what I would do is look for where it turns gray, and then you're gonna make it gray. So this time you don't need to drag any yarn with you underneath, because you've already did that in the last pass. And when you get ready for that gray, which will be the next one. So I'm gonna do the last stitch here, pull through the 2, hold it, let that straggler fall to the back, grab this gray and finish it. And again, you'll have that line chasing up if you don't bury it now. So when you go to double crochet, just scoop up underneath it and keep it on top of the hook, and just double crochet the gray section only. Don't drag the other yarn with you. Tapestry crochet is when you drag those colors underneath, but in this kind of concept it would be really quite noticeable. So there's a time to use tapestry and then there's a time not to. So I'm just matching stitch color to stitch color at this point. And when it turns back to burgundy, I know that I need to switch. So here's the last one. Put in that straggler, grab that new color, scoop up underneath it to catch it, and then just using the burgundy to go all the way back to the other side. So what I want to do then is that we've just completed 2 rows of doing the center part of the lacing, and now the lacing is gonna go big again, and I'm gonna show you one more time, and then we're gonna leave the rest of this project for you because the concepts have been pretty much covered, and it's just a matter of just going back and forth doing up the rest of the lacing, and then you can do the stripes on the other side, which will be your 7-inch stripes and 6-inch stripes depending on the color that you'll be working on. So let me get to the end of this row. So I've now just come to the end of the row and I'm gonna turn it. So now we're gonna go back to doing this. So there's a total of 8 of these strips that look like this to make up the laces. So in my case I have to get that gray to go back. So you'll have to go back to rows number 1 and 2 again. So the chaining 3 doesn't count as a stitch. It doesn't count in the count of 58. So there's gonna be 58 in a row. In my case, remember I just did 6. So you'll do your 58, and on the 58th you'll switch back to your gray. You can almost look below and see exactly where you need to switch it to. So that can help you out as well. So we're gonna do 6. Here we go. Now the problem is that this gray is sitting way over here, so I'm just gonna drag it over. And you see how this is all twisting? So you want to turn your project whenever you finish stuff, always kind of keeping that in mind. So if you just take out your hook, you can just untwist if you've been twisting the same way. Like I tend to always twist in the same direction so that it will loosen up everything for you. So we're going to then bring this over and use that stitch, use that and just pull it kind of taut, and then we just crochet for the next 39 double crochets, and we go right up over top of that, catch it underneath the stitch work so that you'll always hide it, and then you'll go 39 and then you'll switch back to burgundy. So I'll see you back when we go to switch once again. So I'm in the center lace area and the burgundy is sitting right there, and I have to get that burgundy to be further out. So what I want to do is that when I get to that burgundy section, just pull it up, and I want to start just taking it with me. So just go up into the stitch, lay down that straggler, and just take it for the remaining of the 39 stitches that you have. Just pull it a little tight. You can never pull things tight if you get too far, so just make sure you are pulling things as you're going. And when you're ready to switch back to that burgundy, it's gonna be sitting there right underneath the stitch, ready for you to go. So when you're ready to switch back, you just can let the gray fall to the back, pick up the burgundy, and then just finish it like that. So once you do the first pass, all the yarn in behind is gonna be exactly where you want it to be. So when you go to turn it around and it's on the back, the biggest mistake you can do is leaving those stragglers on the front side. So we're gonna just turn our work and pick it up. So chain 3. So this is number 1, so there's 58 double crochets again, but now that you've done the first one, you'll see it there and you'll know exactly when to switch it. So this will be where I want to switch. Leave it to the back, pick up the gray, scoop into the next stitch, but scoop up that one I just dragged up, and then I'll hide that even better. And that's all you have to do for this particular concept at this junction. So you want to do this particular blanket, and let me take you back to the instructions. So you're just gonna keep going back and forth till you see 8 of these pieces that jet out, and then after that you're gonna get rid of this color and you're just gonna go straight across again another 7 inches. You'll do 6 inches of this and then 7 inches of that. So remember to always change your yarns on the wrong side. Currently we're looking at the right side of the project, and the wrong side of the project, and that's because this is marked so I know exactly where I'm looking. So this is a really neat concept. Any tails that you have in at this point you will want to deal with that. And the nice thing about it is that because we have not been trimming our yarn, we've just been hiding things and dragging things under, you don't have a lot to worry about. So at this point you can just take that straggler and just go up underneath the stitch work and drag it through. Again, don't pull on it to the point where it changes the shape of your project. Like that. And then you can just safely trim it. And you'll do that with all your tail ends as well. So it's a really neat idea, and it's actually pretty cool. So this is a football lover's blanket, and you can tell that I'm not quite in the center of it. That's because it's just a small swatch, but this should all be centered if you're following the instructions as written. So until next time, it's Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd, as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. We'll see you.